welcome to the Focus on Greatness podcast. I am your host, Hiram, Roche, and on this platform, we are men helping men redefine greatness through service. And so today, as we've been doing throughout this month is the month of mothers, I would say, your Mother's Day month. And what I've been doing is having conversations with women in my life that are impacting my life. And we're going to dive deep into these conversations and really be able to have a chance, an opportunity to have a real conversation and learn the story of a mother. I believe that I was raised by a mom, so I'm a little bit of a mama's boy. And but I believe that the influence and the impact of a mom on their child's life is vitally important. And so I want you to do me a favor before we dive into this conversation. Make sure that you share this with all of your family and your friends. If you have not already, make sure that you subscribe to the page. Subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on Facebook. Make sure that you subscribe and like and follow so that you can constantly keep up with all the conversations and things that I'm bringing to this platform. As well as, if this is your first time listening to me on podcasts, make sure that you subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google. It's a litany of different ones that you can be able to do and stay involved in these conversations. Further ado, let me introduce you to, I would say, the lady of the hour, my beautiful mother, my mom, Linda. How you doing, Mom?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, son.
I'm excited about being able to get an opportunity to learn a little bit about your story. And I believe that you have a wonderful story. I've been able to know you, since I was a child before I had the blessed honor of marrying your daughter.
Yes.
But I've known you literally almost all my life, and you're a beautiful, beautiful lady inside and out. I don't know anyone that don't like my mom. If they don't, they might be blind or cannot hear, or they just out of this world crazy, because you're the sweetest person that I know. And so I wanted to have an opportunity just to really, again, learn your story and learn about you.
Okay.
So do me a favor. Let's start this conversation off. Tell me a little bit about your history. Where were you born? Let's start there.
Okay. I was born in Philadelphia, in Temple Hospital. That's where my mother had me at. And so been in Philadelphia all my life until I moved here. This was the first place I've ever moved out of. When I moved out of Philadelphia, I came to Texas. Okay. And so Philadelphia, I never really liked Philadelphia. I didn't realize how much I didn't like it until I would visit other places.
Oh, okay.
Every place I would visit.
Keep going, Mom. Yeah.
Every place I would visit, I wanted to live there because it seemed like it was way better than what I was living in Philadelphia. It seemed like everything was noisy, crowded, I just didn't like it.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't know nothing else. And so when I would go visit sometime, but go in other cities and states, I was like, oh, yeah, this is it. I'm ready to move here. Everywhere but New York. New York was worse than Philadelphia. I've seen so many people in New York. I was glad to get back to Philadelphia. So until I moved here, I'm telling you, this is home for me.
Good.
And I just would visit. I would come to visit Bishop quite often, and then eventually, we moved here.
Yeah, yeah.
But me as a mother, I'm looking back at it. It was rough. It was really a rough time behind the fact that I saw my mother in rough spots in her marriage, and I got married. It was like I always was wanting, like I said, I didn't want to live in Philadelphia, and I always wanted to do something other than what I was doing. So I ended up having a baby, getting pregnant and having a baby at 16.
Okay.
I was 17 I was 16 when I had him, but I turned 17 that year.
Okay.
And then my husband and I, we married. After he found out I was pregnant, it was like, boy, you better do something. So we got married, and that was kind of like bad because we was pushed. We was both too young.
Yeah.
He was 2 years older than me, and we were young. But we got married, and we moved into our own place. We moved into our own place. James, my baby at the time, was a boy, James. And he was maybe about like 7 months or 8 months when we moved out of my mother's house and moved into our own place.
Okay.
And so that worked out better because when we lived with my mom, we would try to put stuff in the refrigerator that would be just for us. And here come the rest of the family, Bishop, Vicky, and everybody else going in there and going into our stuff.
Right.
And my husband would say, "Who ate my stuff?" Well, good God. How would we know?
Right.
It's too many people to question.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we got our own place, it was much better. I moved into a place and we got our son with us. And so that was good. But it was like, when I got pregnant with my first son, my mother would be like, "Oh, no." And 5 more times after that, it was, "Oh, no, oh, no." It never was like, "Oh, I'm so glad." It was always, "Oh, no, not again." So with James, it was good because we just had the one.
Yeah.
And then here come Reese 2 years later, we had a daughter. And then 2 years after that, another daughter. So I could understand why my mother was saying, "Oh, no, oh, no." And then I waited a little while, and then I had another daughter. And then another son, and then another daughter. So 6 children in all. And I remember we had visit down here, and we did the best we could. My husband and I had ended up separating. I think we might have separated when my son was about 13, I think. We separated for good. We was in and out, but we really separated when he was 14. But then we came out here, and I always did the best I knew how. I moved out of the house so young, had a baby so young, and was on my own so young.
Right.
And I felt like I did the best I could. I always kept my kids, around. And Vicky and them would always send their children over to me because they said, "Where can she go?"
Right.
She not going nowhere because she got 6 kids. So if y'all need a babysitter, I got one for you. And she would tell her kids, "Y'all going to Aunt Linda's house." And they love to come over there. And I love to have them because, I had these other kids. And might as well come on in. Come on in. You know? So we would have good times like that. But we had came out here, and I think it was in '89. We came out to visit in Texas. First time ever. No, I had came before anybody else came. I was the first one came. And when I came, I brung Jamila and I brung Juanita. And I know Jamila was just a baby. So I had Jamila in July, and we came like in January or February. Bishop had just started the church where he said to cross the street from McDonald's. So they was in that little church at the time. And I remember coming out here, and it was just, oh my God. I was like, "Oh Lord, this is nice. It's more quieter, it just was good living.
Right.
And where they lived, it wasn't such a big house or anything, but it was comfortable.
Yeah.
It was real comfortable. And I always remembered that time. I stayed about a month with Bishop and Pastor Val, and I loved it. It was just really good.
Yeah.
But I wasn't staying. I was just visiting.
Yeah.
And when I went back home, I always had that on my mind, how nice it was out in Texas. So eventually, I was able to do it. But this is what I was trying to get to. I had came back again just to visit again. But this time it was way later. It might have been probably about 6 or 7 years later. We came for they had a church anniversary. And a lot of family members came that particular time. We had a wonderful time, fellowshipping and all. And I remember Bishop was sitting around talking to us, and like Pastor Val said, we could tell them stories. And so Bishop was telling us a story about a time that him and they had a men's fellowship. And they went up in the mountains somewhere, And they was having such a good time. And they were sharing with one another. And at that time, one of the guys just really shared his heart. He said, this is good for me to be here. He said, because it's so much I don't know as a man.
Right.
I had a father, but he never really just taught me anything.
Yeah.
And being here with you guys is really good for me.
Yeah.
He said, and I wanted to share, he said, I don't know how to tie a tie. He said, I don't know how. He said, I would wear a tie around my neck to church every Sunday. And I would go to one of the brothers and I said, oh man, could you tie my tie? I forgot. I was rushing around,
Right.
And he would always get somebody to tie his tie. So now I'm listening to this story. And all of a sudden, I'm about to cry now. I said, that's me. That was me with my children. I had 6 children, but I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to be a mother.
Right.
Not to say I didn't have a good one, but me, I didn't know how to do it.
Right.
I was doing the best I could, and these kids is about 10, 12, but I just felt like I didn't know anything. So out of the clear blue, listening to that brother's story, I started crying.
Right.
And so they was like, Bishop said, oh my God. Said, what's the matter, sis? What happened?
Right.
I said, that story was me. And they was like, what story? They was like, what?
Right.
I said, about the brother with the tie. I said, I can identify to that. Here go my husband at the time, not the children's natural father, but the husband that I was with. And he was looking at me like, what? You're saying you don't know how to be... And I said, really, I feel as though I don't.
Yeah.
I feel as though I'm not equipped. I got the children, but I feel inadequate. I don't know what to do. I married him. He was strong. He would come in there and, tell the kids different things that I should have taught them. Like he didn't want them to walk around with no shoes. That was a definitely top thing.
Right.
Put them shoes on. Well, the kids was used to just doing it, walking with no shoes.
Right.
Go in the refrigerator when they go in the refrigerator. Don't you go in that refrigerator, he would tell them. Don't go nowhere near it. Go wash your hands.
Right.
Before you touch that refrigerator, now wash your hands. And I would look at him like, is that right? I didn't know, because he was an older gentleman, very nice, nice to me and nice to my kids, but he was really instructing them. Saturday morning, you're going to get up that bed and we're going to clean this house on Saturday. And I was like, oh my God. Right. I thought I had to do the best I could to clean the house. You mean the kids can help?
Right, yeah.
I was like, oh my God. So he came in with all these rules and regulations and he got them in line. I mean, they was really snapping to it and doing what he told them to do and all of that. And so, but what they would do is they would run to me and say, Mom, Mr. Tim said, I didn't mean to say the name.
You good. You're good, Mom.
Say, Mr. Tim said that we had to do this, that, and the other. I said, well, do this or that and the other.
Right.
They was like, well, Mom, do we have to do it? I said, yes, you have to do it, because I seen this is working. They got them online, getting up early and doing what they're supposed to do. I said, thank you, God, for Mr. Tim. What do you want me to do? I said, oh, my God. So when we came back from that trip, Tim was with me, and Tim even said when we left, he said, I don't believe you said that. I said, Tim, I was just being truthful.
Right.
I said, that was just a moment that I felt that was me. I could really appreciate that story because I felt like all this long time, I'm here, I'm a mother, and I got my kids with me, got nieces and nephews coming over, but I felt inadequate.
Yeah.
I really felt inadequate. And so when we came home, I called a family meeting with the children. I said, from now on, you don't have to ask me, Mom, should we do what he's saying?
Right.
Do what he's telling you to do.
Yeah.
I said, from now, don't ask me anything. I said, he is the man of this house. That's my husband. That's your stepfather.
Right.
From here on out, you listen to him.
Yeah.
Anything that I would want them to do, I would say, Tim, I want them to do this. And he would orchestrate it.
Right.
I wanted my mouth to be silent because it was confusion.
Right.
Mom, Mr. Tim said this, but Mom, you said this.
Right.
No, Mom ain't saying nothing. From now on, whatever Mr. Tim say, because I know he's not going to tell you nothing that's going to hurt you or harm you.
Right.
Do what he say. Don't even ask me because I'm in agreement.
Right.
And we held hands and we prayed. We prayed that we were all in agreement. This is who's running this house from here on out.
Right.
Mr. Tim got it in control. And it worked. It worked so beautiful. It worked so beautiful. To even to this day, some of the things that Tim taught them. And they would call him Mr. Tim. He ain't mine.
Right.
Even though he's my husband, instead of saying Pop or whatever. They eventually started calling him Pop when they got grown. But they would call him Mr. Tim in the house. Mr. Tim is the man. So it worked.
Right.
Some of the things he taught them Saturday morning was cleaning day. Some of my children, they still do that to this day.
Yeah,
they do their children. You
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Y'all
we
do
do
it.
it.
So
Yeah.
they do their children the same way. So I thank God. I thank God for the travel
Yes.
that I've been on. Because God took me that route where I met Mr. Tim.
Yeah.
And Mr. Tim taught me more so how to really relax
Yeah.
and know that it's going to be all right. Because I used to worry. I used to worry so much about them.
Yeah.
Because it was like things I just didn't know. I dropped out of school when I was in 11th grade to have my son.
Right.
And then I never did go back to finish and get my diploma or anything. And it's just like I was just doing the best I could do.
Yes, ma'am.
And I thank God because he was with me I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
He was with me then because he kept it together. I didn't lose. I had if you talk to my nieces and my nephews, at that time, that Friday night to Saturday morning was at my house.
Right.
We would buy food, or we was getting food stamps, and we would have loads of food. Ice cream, goodies, you name it.
Right.
And they would come over, we would fix food, they would lay on the floor, all of them make pallets in the floor, spend the night, spend the weekend sometime, and just enjoy Aunt Linda's. Then they had their friends coming over staying the weekend. And they just made that out, and it was good because they never was in gangs. They never was hanging out on the corner or nothing.
Right.
We corralled them all together.
Yeah.
We had fun. We watched movies all night, and just enjoy each other.
Yeah.
Now that I could do. I knew how to do that.
Right.
And that wasn't hard.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind having my nieces and nephews over. It gave them somewhere to go, and it got them off them streets.
Yeah.
They never was in gangs and stuff. They never came up that way. And I thank God because for Aunt Linda corralled them. Mom corralled them. And they ain't had no problem because like Vicky said, I couldn't go nowhere. So if I'm going to be here, send them on. Send them on. So it ended up being a good thing.
Yeah.
And it still is a good thing.
Yes, ma'am.
It still is a good thing. I
Yes,
remember those times. And my own mother, the best mother in the world. The best mother in the world. But again, she had me young. And then she married my dad. After I was born, she married my dad. And he was abusive. We didn't know at the time why or what for, but we found out later that he had a drug problem. And that's probably why he would come home sometime and everything would be nice and quiet, going good, and then here he come.
Right.
And when he would come, I was the oldest, so I would listen to see what's the atmosphere going to be.
Right.
Because I remember so many times I had to get out the bed and run around my grandmother's who lived about 3 or 4 blocks from us. And bam on the door and say, he's beating her, he's beating her, he's beating her. And one time I did it and they didn't answer the door and I went through the window. They had a porch. And I went through the window and ran upstairs and not knowing that I could scare her to death or my grandfather to death. And I ran up there, ran in their room and was, Grandma, and she was, she could have had a heart attack. She said, wake up, kitty, he's at it again. And this was my life.
Right.
I was scared to go to school. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to leave my mother because I felt like if I left her and it happened, she don't have nobody to go. Because I was the go get the help. I was the one that would run and get help every time. And I just didn't like school. And they would say, well, why you don't like school? All you're going to do is take naps and eat snacks. But I knew what I could miss if I go to school. If I'm not there to help her, and that seemed like that was my job. I had to do this because if I don't, who's going to get some help for her? You know, and so she would tell us time to time we would move we moved everywhere in Philadelphia that we could move. And she was trying to get away from him. And he would meet us at my grandmother's. To me, he was a good dad, but a bad husband. I didn't like the way he did my mom. And none of us did, but they was little, you know, they didn't know what to do either. But we would meet him at my grandmother's house, and he would come. We would love to see him when he came. And she would always tell us, do not, whatever you do not give him our address, because every time we moved, he would find out where we were. And we knew not to give him the address. But years, since I've been an adult, I thought about it. I said, how did he know where we moved? But you know how he knew? He probably would say, well, where y'all going to school at now? What school y'all go to? We not thinking if we tell him that.
He gonna connect it.
He would come and probably stand outside somewhere when we come out of school, and when we walk home, he follow us. Because we never would tell him, and she would just get on us so bad. I told y'all don't tell him, because if he found out she was going with somebody else, or even if he thought she was seeing somebody else, it was just a fight after fight. I mean, it was terrible, and I thought I would never want to get married. I would never want to get married because of what I saw her go through. And the best times we would have is when she was separated from him, which wouldn't last because he would come and say, I'm going to do better, or whatever he would tell her. And then they would get back and the same thing all over again. So, you know, they ended up, you know, but they did divorce. I don't know if they ever divorced or he passed away. And so, you know, that was a chapter that was changed. But when my mother got her life together, where she had got saved in Philadelphia, and then she moved out. When I moved to stay here, she came a week after I did. Me and Tim came with the truck, and we brought her belongings. And then she came later. We just took Jamal, one of my sons, when we came. We brought him. And the rest of the kids stayed back. Well, they were grown then. So we just had Jamal, Jamila, and Juanita that was going to come out and stay with us because the other kids was grown. They didn't want to come. And so my mother, she was going to come. And she brought Karen's son, Cheryl, with her when she came. So she came on the bus. And Reese and her husband did come with my mother on the bus. They came on the bus. And so when she got here, oh, my God. That's just the best time. Hiram, that was the best time in our life. And we would go to church with each other, and I told her, I said, Mom, you would love it here. You would love it here. She said, I believe I will. And when her mother passed away, that freed her up to come, because her and her mother was just two peas in a pie. You couldn't separate them. So when Grandma passed, and Mom came later on that year, but we were just the best of friends, Hiram. My husband would say, good God, what are y'all talking about? We would go to church together, sit beside each other at church, kind of whispering at church with each other. Come home, get on the phone, stay hours on the phone. Then I say, Mom, I'll be right over. This is getting too good. Go over her house, and my husband would say, good God, what is y'all talking about? You know? So we was just good friends. We were really good friends. She was a good woman. Just a blessing. And I was thinking about it coming, that when God took her home, brought her home, I just thought I could die. I wanted to die. I fell on the floor and I said, God, take me. Because I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna be nobody. My mother. And then we got to call home and tell my sisters that Mom went in the hospital on a Friday, Sunday morning gone.
Wow.
No inkling that this is to death. Like nothing that's going to tell us that she's not going to come out.
Right,
you know?
right.
And so, oh my God, Jesus. But God knows best. Because I thought too, that was so selfish. That was a selfish thought that I could just die. What about my children?
Right.
Their mother going to be gone.
Right.
The same way you feel about your mother, they have feelings for their mother. So that's not fair, you know. I said, that was selfish. And I pray I never be that selfish again. Because that was a selfish thing.
Right.
But God knows best.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I wouldn't have seen my grandchildren.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to see my great-grands.
Yes, ma'am.
And they are so precious.
Yes, ma'am.
They're so precious to us. So that's it. That's my life as a mother, a grandmother. I tell you, the grandmothers, they just get the best.
Yes, ma'am.
The great grandmas get the best because we done learned some things by the time we grandparents. And our grandchildren, oh, such a delight.
Yes,
Each one. I know what one of my sets of grandchildren, my daughter Juanita, her two boys, I took the oldest one for his birthday to get something for his birthday. I asked him what he wanted. He told us. But the little one went with us too. And so he's looking to see. We couldn't find. We went to different stores, and we couldn't find it. We couldn't find it. So we're going to get this.
Right.
We got to order Amazon somewhere. We're going to get it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And so he said, okay. But the little one is listening, looking, and I don't know this. So we finally bought him the gift. And the little one said, oh, my God, you are blessed. He told his brother, you are blessed. I turned around and said, he said, blessed? He said, oh, Grandma, what you that? That was just the best. It's like I bought him a car. He was like, oh, my God. And I never, this was last year. So now his birthday. I said, God, all I want to hear is, Grandma, you bought me this. Oh, God, I've been praying. I said, God, whatever we get him, I hope it's what he really, really wants. Because I want him to say, oh, Grandma, you got I'm blessed.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to hear him say, I'm blessed. So I thank God. I thank God that he didn't listen to my foolish prayer. When my mother passed in 92, that he didn't hear what I said. He heard me, but he didn't do what I was asking him to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's the type of God that he is.
Yeah.
He knows best.
Yes, ma'am.
Father
yes,
always knows best.
Yes, he does.
And if I had been in heaven and I could look down and see them grands, I'd say, well, what you do that for? You know I didn't mean it. So I'm so glad that he did not do that.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
I'm still able to see my grandchildren, my children, and enjoy life.
Yes, ma'am.
Life is to be enjoyed. And when you know the Lord, you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it. You know, we'll miss each other when they go. You know, we'll miss each other. But we get through.
Yes, ma'am.
It ain't like that's a dead end.
Right.
You know, we'll get through. And so I thank God that, you know, the help that he gave me as a young mother, you know, that it was just the thing. It was just what I needed.
Yes. I just want to say thank you, Mom, for allowing me to be able to learn your story a little bit.
Yes.
And allowing also those that are watching, those that are listening, to be able to hear your story. Because I do believe that there are people that this story has impacted. There are people that learning and hearing what your story is going to be able to show them and help them in the areas that they're in.
Yes.
And so for you that are watching, you that are listening, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take some time and I want you to set some time with your family. Just say, for example, you might not have children. You might be a person that's living single, or you might be married and y'all just don't have children, but you do have family. Yes. Set some time aside and just spend and love on your family. one of the things that I have been able to learn and to love is the strength of your family, the bond that your family has, and the love that y'all have. And so even just learning and listening to a lot of the things that you talked about today, I'm learning why we do a lot of stuff. It has literally poured down from generation to generation. And it's things that we are going to make sure that our boys are doing as they continue to push forward, because it's things that is needed for, I believe, that makes our family the unique thing that it is. And so again, thank you, Mom, for having this conversation and being on today, stepping out of your little bubble and kind of having this conversation with me. So thank you for doing that. Thank you all for listening and being a part of this conversation. I want you to do me a favor, share this with someone, and continue to be a part of these conversations, because these are some real dialogues that I believe is going to impact and help somebody's life. So I love you all, and we'll see you next time. Talk to you later, and continue to be great. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I pray that this conversation was impactful to you in some form of way. What I want to make sure is that not only are you hearing and learning this information, but that you're taking the time to apply something, some nugget, some piece that you took from this conversation that you can say, I can apply this for my life to be better. I want you to continue to be with me, and make sure that you're with me every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I love you all, and I'll talk to you next time right here on the Focus on Greatness family. Bye-bye.